Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Credo presentation for today. I'm very pleased to, I'm Carol Gay, the coordinator of Credo, and I'm very pleased to introduce Cate Stroud, our presenter for today. Cate has done a lot of volunteer work for our church. She's worked with our and is working with our youth in coming of age, and she's teaches middle school RE. She also serves on our social engagement group. And I was impressed to know that she headed up a fundraiser for the Social Justice Fund and raised $2,000. So anyhow, I'm sure you're eager to hear about Cate. So, one other thing, when we do the, after Cate speaks, we'll do the question answer. Please write your questions down in chat, and then I will read the questions, and then Cate will answer. And please keep your questions short if you can. Okay, thanks very much, and I'll turn things over to Cate.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you to Martha and Sheila for helping put all this together. So, what I give my heart to. I thought that this would be a simple thing to put together, not something I've spent weeks thinking and writing on. At first, what comes to mind is family and friends, and of course, pets. The people in your life that matter. And of course you give your heart to them. That's the easy answer. Instead of thinking of it as who or what I love, I choose to think of it as what makes my heart sing, what lights me up inside. That's where the question gets harder. So I've tried to come up with an answer to break it up and give you the biggest pieces. At 34, I can't say that this is what my passions will look like forever, or even if this is all of them. But regardless, here it is. I grew up in the South in Wilmington, going to a Baptist church every Sunday. My parents taught me to believe in myself and to have compassion for others. My dad was all about good work ethic and safety. We literally had tornado drills at home growing up, and sort of still do. And my mom tried to instill traditional Southern graces into my sister and I. Personally, I don't think everything stuck. I was also a complete child of the 90s, where the Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls were the music of choice, and shows like Xena, Buffy, and Charmed making a big impact on my formative years. I grew up in that Baptist church, and as I grew older, that's when I started to question things. I became that kid, the one that asks questions they aren't supposed to. And as a result, I soon became an outcast and was ostracized from my youth group and the people that were supposed to care about me. I tried really hard not to be different. I went on mission trips and to Christian camp and did Bible study and even took an Old Testament class in high school. But when the bullying from my peers became too much, I realized that it was time to leave and that maybe there was a different spiritual path for me. That idea took root in college when I came out as bisexual and came to the hard understanding of how many Christians viewed the LGBTQ community. That's when I found paganism. If you attended this year's Luna service, you already know this fact about me, so I won't spend too long talking about it. But to say that going from Christianity to paganism was a big leap is an understatement. It's something I've struggled with. Finding yourself and figuring out what you believe is difficult enough. And I knew that earth-centered religions are what spoke to me. But being different than my family was hard to come to terms with. They don't know I'm pagan, and probably never will, and that's difficult to admit. Although I wouldn't give up being a witch for anything. It's something I think that's always been a part of me. I was lucky in college because I found a great witchy community of people that supported me and accepted who I was. I first learned about Unitarian Universalism in college. I went to a Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans group. That's a mouthful. And I was able to attend the Greensboro Church a few times. The message I heard and the principles of Unitarian Universalism really struck a chord with me, and I decided to make it a part of my identity. When I moved to DC, I joined the first UU church, All Souls. That was my first UU church. The time I spent there was short, but being there helped me through some hard times. I remember when I found out that I would be moving to Charlotte with my family. I knew that unlike Clayton, I'm in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, there would be a UU church I could join in Charlotte. I started going to the UUCC a few months after I moved here. I had done a Google search and it came up as the first link. After an outdoor Yule service, I decided I wanted to be part of this community. I jumped in with both feet and started with choir, then Follies, and the young adult group when that was still a thing. When I think about what I give my heart to, so much of it is here or has stemmed from what I've learned here. This place has truly helped shape me as a person over the years, and I'll be forever grateful. Finding out what I give my heart to has been a rocky journey. It's a journey that required me getting sick and moving back home from DC to my parents, and then moving to Charlotte just for my mom to get sick, to figure out. My mid to late 20s were hard and required me to do a lot of deep work within myself to get better and pull through. What I've lived of my 30s has been kinder to me, and this church is truly a place that's helped me heal. That's why one of the things I commit myself to is people in the field of mental health and disability. I've been visually impaired my whole life, and now, as an adult, it's something I'm proud of. That might sound strange to be proud of a disability, but I would not be who I am without it. I've also struggled with significant mental illness in my life, and when I hit rock bottom, I pulled myself up and have done the work over the years to get better. Although bad days still happen, it's just the nature of the game. Through my recovery, I've been trained to help others in their own recovery process. All of this has led me to have a deep passion for disability rights and helping others in similar situations. I've worked with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI, in the past and have been an In Our Own Voice presenter. And now I'm a certified peer support specialist. And at the UUCC, with my good friend Mick, I've led a disability support group for over 2 years, going on 3. It's been a great support for our community and only fueled my passion for disability advocacy more. Now I remember a service Eve gave where she talked about a woman's realization of when they finally loved their church. Loving being at this church is something that happened quickly, but actually loving it was a surprising and longer process, even though I didn't realize it at the time. I can remember when I first knew this church was for me, when I first felt welcome, when I first felt like I'd found friends and a place to belong, and of course, when I first loved this church. I knew Kathleen Carpenter through the young adult group, and I soon found out that she is a woman who is hard to say no to. So when she needed summer teachers for the Harry Potter themed middle school classes, the nerd in me readily agreed. Later, I got to take the middle school kids to the mountain, which is an amazing experience and one I highly recommend. Next was to teach a special program for middle school girls called Athena's Path. Now, after all of that, I finally realized I was in deep and asked Kathleen to be a middle school CYRE advisor, and she said yes. Through my time teaching these kids, I fell deeply in love with this church. It's when I had my big aha moment because I look at them and what we teach them and see the reason for it all. for our fights for justice, for the principles we uphold. We do it to make a better world that these kids can live and grow up in, and give them the tools to fight for a more just world as well. So, teaching middle schoolers became something I love and I'm committed to. Who would have ever guessed that? And I believe they've shaped me more than I've shaped them, because now I'm thinking of returning to school for a master's in social work so that I can become a middle school guidance counselor, putting my passion of mental health recovery and my love of the kids together. And if that sounds like a crazy goal, because who on earth would want to do that? That's okay, because 4 or 5 years ago, I probably would have thought the same thing. Besides altering the course of what I thought I might do with my life, I owe this place so much for the things it's taught me as well. Social justice is something that I've always been passionate about. From working with Box in college, to getting arrested and protesting Don't Ask, Don't Tell at a military recruitment center, standing up for what I believe and trying to affect change has always been a part of my life. Through trainings and core groups and so many other things, this place has helped me grow my understanding of injustice and inequity and the transformations needed to really make a difference. It's here I was also introduced to another wonderful community, the choir. Music is something that I've always had a passion for, and something that's helped heal and uplift me over the years. I started, as so many do, in 6th grade band with my flute. I remember, even though I know I must have sounded awful, how magical it felt holding that instrument in my hand. High school led to marching band, which was definitely one of the best decisions I made as a youth. I loved the hard work and production of it all. High school also introduced me to musical theater, and I was in many plays during my high school career, the first being Beauty and the Beast. I was Mrs. Potts. In college is where music became something more than just fun, but something spiritual as well, because that's where I found African drumming. And for the next 3 years, I studied West African Mande music. And my heart truly fell in love with music and what it can create. Joining the choir here has brought that music back into my life, where it had been lacking for some time. I've always felt more grounded and at peace with music in my life, and now, with our wonderful choir, I get to have that again. So I thought I'd finish by answering a question that Kathleen proposed when doing a coming-of-age Credo writing session. And it's, who do I want to be at the end of the day? For me, there's a simple answer. At the end of the day, I want to be someone who makes a difference in someone's life. Now, I know that answer might be simple or unimaginative, but it's the truth. But I don't think there's anything wrong with simple goals. I find the most meaning in the simple things in life. But then again, who's to really say it's simple? Making a difference in someone's life can be monumental, course-altering. I know that's how it's been for me in the past. But the people who've had the biggest impact on me have not done so by some great feat, but by simply being their amazing selves. And to be that for someone, just by doing what I love, that is what I strive for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cate.
Thank you.
We were so glad to hear from you. So now it's time for us to do question answer. Somebody has asked, said that was really great, Cate. What an interesting life. I'm curious, what kind of pagan are you?
Ah, that's a good question. I started out as Wiccan, which is a religion. And there's still a lot of parts of that that speak to me. But, I've branched out and I'm more of what you would call a eclectic witch nowadays. And so I just take different parts that speak to me into myself and what I believe. So a little bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, anybody else have some questions you'd like to ask for Cate? Okay, here's one. In relation to disability rights, what more do you think our UU community needs to do?
That's a big question. And we've talked about this in disability group. I think that there is a lot that the church can do in the physical form as far as making our church more accessible. I also, we've talked about doing training to make our church part of a program through the UUA. And I can't remember the name right now, but it's a program that includes people with disabilities, and it's something that our whole church would take on. And me and Mick have considered taking on that big process before. So.
Okay, let's see. Somebody says, thanks, Cate. It's so nice to see you really bloom at the UUCC and be a great role model for our youth. Well, really, for all of us. Where did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to UNC Greensboro, go Spartans, and I studied anthropology and linguistics because I love people and I think they're really interesting.
Okay. How many, wait a minute. Just a second.
And guys, Carol's reading the chat for me because I can't see it from here if you were wondering.
Can you talk more about how your own disabilities have affected your life?
Yes. So I grew up my whole life visually impaired, but I was mainstreamed, which means I was brought up as if I was sighted. I didn't have a social worker. I didn't have any help growing up. So I really had to just compensate for myself. Growing up, it wasn't until college that I got to take tests through the disability service office. And it wasn't until I moved to Charlotte till I actually got a social worker for the first time and got O&M, which is orientation and mobility training, so I can use my cane, and got to do a lot of stuff there, like I'm currently working with vocational rehab. So disabilities always played a part in my life. But it wasn't until I was 16 that I even really recognized I was disabled because, like I said, I was raised sighted. But when I came to the terms with the fact that I wasn't going to be able to drive, that was sort of when everything hit home. And as far as my mental illness goes, that was almost a harder struggle than my vision, because I'd always just accepted my vision because that's how I've always been. And I mean, it's a big, long, sort of sad story with my mental health, but I've had a lot of amazing people in my life that have helped me, and I've done a lot of different types of therapy to get better, and I'm currently hoping to find a peer support specialist job because I really want to help people who are in their own recovery.
All right, here's another question. What is it about middle schoolers that lights up your heart?
I love middle schoolers, which to most people they don't understand. I I just think that that's such a good age. They are at the point where they don't need you for everything, but they also don't think they know everything. So I like to say that you can get those little nuggets of information and education in, and they still sort of think you're cool, or they, and they're such characters at that age too, that they just, are coming into their own as people, and, you know, developing their own ideas. And I just think it's an amazing age to work with.
Okay, here's another question about middle schoolers. As a parent of a middle school kid, I know you are making a difference. Thanks for that. Oh, and then the question really is about something else. You referred to your experience of music as spiritual. I'm wondering what that word means to you.
So music, like I said, in high school, was just sort of fun with marching band and plays. But when I discovered African drumming, you know, that type of music, when you really learn and understand it and the history behind it, it just became something more. It became something really meaningful in my life, and something that was just beyond learning music, but something that really touched my soul. Um, so I guess that's what I meant by spiritual.
All right. How many people are in your disability group and what do you do in your meetings?
That's a great question. We average about 10 people every month, and we're still doing Zoom meetings every month. Little promo there. But there's more than that. It sort of circulates every month. So I'd say we have a solid like 30 people in the group. And it's a support group, especially in the first half. So everybody checks in. And sometimes we have a topic we want to talk about. And we also talk about advocacy sometimes, like I answered earlier, in regards especially to the church and what we can do there. So it's a good group.
All right. Here's actually kind of a personal question. Would you be interested in joining a monthly drumming meetup, Drumming from the Heart, when it reconvenes off Wendover Road?
I would love that. I would love more chances to play. I get the chance to play at church occasionally, but and at Luna Rising, I lead workshops there. But yeah, more chances to play would be awesome.
Okay, I don't see any other questions at this point. Does anybody else want to ask one? Okay, well, thank you so much, Cate, for speaking to us today. I've learned so much about you, and also been inspired by you and all the work you do for others. And good luck in your future aspirations.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for showing up. It makes me feel good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Cate.
Bye.